Have you ever noticed that the smartest person in the room rarely talks the most? While everyone else argues, debates, and fights to prove they are right, one person simply watches, listens, and waits. But why? Is intelligence really connected to silence? Is there something fundamentally different about the way highly intelligent people process the world around them? Psychology says yes, and the evidence is more fascinating than you might think. The loudest person is not always the smartest. Think about the last meeting you attended, the last dinner party, the last group discussion. Who dominated the conversation? Who spoke with the most certainty, the most volume, the most conviction? Now ask yourself, were they actually the most knowledgeable person in the room? More often than not, the answer is no. This is one of the most well-documented paradoxes in social psychology. Confidence and competence are not the same thing, and yet our brains treat them as if they are. When someone speaks loudly, speaks first, and speaks without hesitation, we instinctively assume they know what they are talking about. This is called the halo effect. We attach credibility to confidence, even when that confidence is completely unearned. But here is where it gets even more interesting. In 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger published a landmark study. Their finding was simple but devastating. People with low levels of knowledge in a subject consistently overestimate their own competence. They do not know enough to know what they do not know. Meanwhile, people with genuine expertise tend to underestimate themselves. They are acutely aware of how much they still do not understand. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it explains why the loudest voice in the room is often the least informed one. The expert stays quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because they understand the full complexity of what is being discussed. The illusion of knowledge. Here's a test. Right now, as you're watching this video, I want you to answer one simple question. How does a zipper work? Not vaguely, not the teeth locked together. Actually explain the mechanical process, the geometry, the physics, the sequence of events that causes a zipper to open and close reliably, thousands of times. Take a moment. Most people, even highly educated people, suddenly realize they have absolutely no idea. You have used a zipper thousands of times in your life. You are completely comfortable with it. You assumed you understood it, and yet, when asked to explain it in depth, you cannot. This is called the illusion of explanatory depth. It was identified by psychologists Leonid Rosenblit and Frank Keel at Yale University. Their research showed that people dramatically overestimate how well they understand everyday objects and systems, from toilets to bicycles to government policy. We confuse familiarity with understanding. We mistake recognition for knowledge. And here's the critical insight. Intelligent people are far more likely to recognize this illusion in themselves. They are more likely to say, I do not actually know enough about this to have a strong opinion. That is not weakness. That is intellectual honesty, and it is extraordinarily rare. Why intelligent people ask questions instead of making statements. If you watch a highly intelligent person in a conversation, you will notice something unusual. They do not rush to share their opinion. They ask questions. Not to appear humble, not as a social strategy, but because they genuinely want to understand before they respond. This traces back over 2,000 years to Socrates, the Greek philosopher who is considered one of the founders of Western philosophy. Socrates famously claimed he knew nothing. He spent his life asking questions rather than proclaiming answers. The Socratic Method, asking precise, probing questions to expose assumptions and reveal deeper truth, is still used today in law schools, medical schools, and elite universities around the world. But you do not need to be a philosopher to apply this principle. Consider two responses to someone who says something you believe is wrong. Response 1, you are wrong. Response 2, that is interesting. Why do you think that? What led you to that conclusion? The first response shuts down conversation. It creates defensiveness. It makes the other person dig in harder. The second response opens a dialogue. It invites reflection. And critically, it gives you more information, so that if you do choose to respond, your response is far more precise and far more powerful. Active listening is not passive. It is one of the most demanding cognitive tasks a human being can perform. It requires you to suppress your own internal monologue, suspend judgment, and genuinely process what another person is communicating. Intelligent people do this not because it is polite, but because it makes them more effective. Silence is a weapon. Now let us talk about something most people never consider. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is one of the most powerful communication tools in existence. Here is something that psychologists have known for decades. Silence creates discomfort, and when people are uncomfortable, they talk. They fill the silence, they volunteer information, they explain themselves when no explanation was required. They reveal things they had no intention of revealing. Professional negotiators know this. They are trained to make an offer or ask a question, and then say nothing, and wait. The silence puts pressure on the other party to respond. And in that response, the negotiator learns everything they need to know. Detectives use the same technique. An experienced investigator does not pepper a suspect with rapid-fire questions. They ask one question, and then they sit back, and they let the silence do the work. Interviewers at the highest levels, journalists, intelligence analysts, executive recruiters, all deploy strategic silence as a tool to extract more information than a direct question ever would. But this principle extends far beyond professional settings. In any conversation, the person who is most comfortable with silence holds more power. They are not compelled to react. They are not rattled by awkward pauses. They can sit with uncertainty, process information carefully, and choose exactly when and how to respond. This is the quiet confidence that people often mistake for arrogance or aloofness. It is not. It is composure. This is not just theory. Look at the people who have demonstrated the greatest intellectual and strategic impact in modern history. Warren Buffett, widely regarded as one of the greatest investors of all time, is famous for what he does not do. He does not react to market panic. He does not follow the crowd. He does not make impulsive decisions under pressure. His entire philosophy is built on patience, observation, and the disciplined refusal to act until the evidence is overwhelming. His longtime partner, Charlie Munger, was known for sitting in near total silence during meetings, sometimes for hours, before offering a single, devastatingly precise observation that reframed the entire discussion. Munger once said, "I have nothing to add," more times than most people say anything meaningful. Then there is Sherlock Holmes. Yes, he is fictional, but the character endures because he embodies something psychologically true. Holmes does not talk more than anyone else. He observes more. He notices what others dismiss. And when he finally speaks, it is not to demonstrate his knowledge. It is to deliver a conclusion. The same principle appears in Oreki Houtarou from the anime Hyoka, a character whose defining trait is his refusal to expend unnecessary energy, including unnecessary words. And yet, when he engages, his insights are unmatched. These figures, real and fictional, share a common pattern: observation over reaction, precision over volume, depth over speed. They are not quiet because they have nothing to say. They are quiet because they have learned that words are most powerful when they are carefully chosen. So what does all of this mean for you? Intelligence is not measured by how much you know. It is not measured by how quickly you can respond, how confidently you can argue, or how loudly you can assert your position. It is measured by how willing you are to admit what you do not know, by how carefully you listen before you speak, by how comfortable you are sitting in uncertainty until you have genuinely understood something. The quietest person in the room is not disengaged. They are processing, they are evaluating, they are waiting for the right moment. And when they finally speak, you would do well to listen.